Welcome to the Trip Tales podcast with me, Kelsey Graves. Let's jump into a new episode exploring a vacation destination that you'll want all the details about. Hey everyone, welcome back to Trip Tales. I know many of you are avid podcast listeners, as am I. So you probably often hear all your favorite podcasters harping to leave a review. Leave a review, leave a review. And why is this? Well, I Googled it for us. I Googled, why are reviews so important for podcasts? And Google said, reviews and ratings help to give your podcast credibility and are key signals to search engines as they attempt to filter through all the available podcasts. The more your listeners engage with your podcast, the more likely it is to show up in search engine result pages and be discovered by new listeners. Podcast reviews are important because they act as social proof, building credibility for a show, increasing its visibility to potential new listeners, and providing valuable feedback from current listeners to help improve content and overall listener experience. We were on a roll in 2024, and thank you to all of you who left a review. But 2025 has slowed down, and I only have 2 reviews that have come in 2025. I know you guys are enjoying listening because the weekly downloads and listeners keep growing week over week. So help a sister out and let's get some 2025 reviews going. In the review, you can share why you love Trip Tales overall or about one specific episode you particularly loved. It's free, just takes a second, and goes a really long way. Okay, today we are talking about a trip I am personally very curious about, and I know a lot of you are interested in as well. Traveling to Costa Rica with kids, specifically a family of 5, with my guest Annie from Let's Travel Talk. So welcome, Annie. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
I start every episode with a rapid fire get to know you. So tell everyone where you live, what you do, and about your family.
I live in Phoenix, in the Phoenix area. I have a family of 5, like you said, and I teach families how to travel on credit card points and miles. That's my full-time job now, and I love it. So fun.
That's awesome. I follow you on Instagram. So tell everyone how you got started in the travel content creation space and how long you've been doing it.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I hit the Instagram lottery with getting really lucky and going viral pretty fast when I started my account. Um, I started my account almost 3 years ago. And it was just I wanted to share my hobby. I thought I was getting kind of annoying on my personal page talking about credit card points all the time, but I did notice that the people on my personal account, it was either people weren't interested at all or they were asking tons of questions. And so I just decided to move it over to Let's Travel Talk. And yeah, it kind of blew up really fast. And so I just love that I get to do this for a job. It's really great.
That's awesome. Yeah. So it's Let's Travel Talk on Instagram. And that's funny you say that about getting a lot of questions, because that's one of the reasons I started this podcast is because I would get so many DMs and just texts from friends about different trips or travel or, hey, when you stay at Opryland Hotel, like, where do you like to park? All the things. And I was like, if I can start doing episodes about all this, I can just direct people to these episodes. And that has been like one of the most helpful parts is when I get a DM from somebody, I can like direct them somewhere.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So you went to Costa Rica with your family of 5 over Thanksgiving. So in November 2024, what made you guys choose Costa Rica for this trip?
Costa Rica has been a huge bucket list destination for me for a long time. Even before I got into credit card points and miles, it seems like such a high adventure, fun, beautiful place to visit. The place that we stayed at that I really wanted to stay at was actually a Hyatt destination, and they announced that they were changing it to a Hilton property, and I had more points to book with Hyatt, and it was kind of a better value at the time to book with Hyatt. So we kind of bumped Costa Rica to the top of our list so that we could book it with Hyatt points instead of Hilton points.
So the Andaz that you stayed at is still a Hyatt, right? But then
Yes.
the second place you stayed. Okay. Because actually it's funny, this episode is perfect timing because the episode coming out directly before yours which is so basic, I know. Like to you, you're like, duh, this is literally 101. But my listeners do like points and miles, but it's not a points and miles podcast. It's more about the trip and the destination and the adventure of it. So I'm doing like a 101 on why transferring my Chase Ultimate Rewards points to Hyatt is literally blowing my mind this year. Cause I just got into it like last year and I'm like, our entire summer is like free travel, which is especially with Hyatt when you're like, wait, it was 15,000 points, 30,000 points. We can book so much stuff with these points we're accruing. And so this is coming at a perfect time, except for that the one property switched to Hilton, but
One
that's okay.
property. No, I think, well, and you said this is so dumb, but it's not. I feel like that is one of the biggest sweet spots and it's one of the easiest to learn, but there
Yes.
is a tiny bit of learning curve. But then once it clicks, all of a sudden you become obsessed with Hyatt, which I didn't even care about Hyatt properties until I learned points and miles.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. I also loved that I looked at your Instagram stories about this trip and you had a slide that resonated with me so deeply that said that feeling when you realize you are officially a big kid family, because I also have three kids. And for so many years, I mean, we definitely traveled. My kids have been on more plane rides than their age, at this point. But for the first like probably 5 to 10 years, it was a lot of like Florida, visiting grandparents, easy beach, maybe a Disney trip here and there trips. And now my youngest is 7 going on 8. And I feel like the world is opening up. Like we're going to New York City soon. We're starting national parks. And I mean, I'm someone who loves a baby, but I am like loving my big kids so much right now. And so that slide just like gave me goosebumps because I feel like Costa Rica is one of those trips where you really want to go to with those big kids who are ready to adventure and have fun. And it's so exciting to start planning those trips.
Yes, I agree. This was definitely our first bigger like high adventure. And yeah, and some of it, I mean, we'll get into it, but when I'm rappelling with all of my
I
kids
mean,
down the waterfall, I'm like, oh my gosh, we made it. We made it through
that one, I was like, I'm adventurous and
time.
I've repelled plenty of places in the world, but I was like, whoa, I'm so proud of your youngest daughter, but we will get into that. Thanksgiving is such a good week to travel because many kiddos get that entire week off of school. I know mine do. How did you navigate skipping Thanksgiving with other family members?
So we don't live by any of our family. And so it hasn't necessarily been I think we've spent more Thanksgivings not with family than with family in our married life. So it wasn't a huge deal to just
That's awesome. Good for
skip.
you. And then before we get into the details of the trip, was November a nice time to visit Costa Rica weather-wise?
Yes, I do think the dry season tends to be more December, January through April, and that's like their high season where you're guaranteed or not guaranteed. It's the rainforest. So I
Right.
think it's like rainy and less rainy. So we were kind of on the shoulder season and it worked out fine for us. But that being said, the week before there was tons of rain we had heard. So we had really sunny days in the Papagayo area and then in the rainforest where La Fortuna is, it rained every day, but it stopped raining every day. And so it was it wasn't and it's not cold rain. Like it didn't bother us very much that it was raining.
Yeah, you're already like hot and humid anyway, so what's a little more moisture?
Yes.
We did already do a Costa Rica episode on episode 15. That was a couples trip, but he had similar things to say about the weather where it's just kind of like every day could get a little like hazy or rainy or that sort of thing. But again, you're in the rainforest. So speaking of that, Costa Rica has a lot of different areas, beaches, jungle, rainforest, volcanoes. How did you decide where you wanted to visit in Costa Rica and in what order?
So a lot of it has to do with points and miles for me, which might not have to do
No,
with
that's
your.
great. I
For
people
me,
will love to hear it.
it was the thing that is hard about Costa Rica is that there's so many areas that are really nice. So we didn't even scratch the surface. We just picked two popular areas. The Peninsula Papagayo area is more of a luxury resort area. There's not quite as much to do, and it's not as rainforesty. It's more dry. You might get more sun there. And then I knew I wanted to do La Fortuna area. That's like where the Arnold volcano is, and just lots of high adventure. I would have loved to visit. Is it Manuel Antonio
I
National
don't know.
Park
You know better than me.
called. And there's like a cloud forest. There's so, I mean, we definitely want to go back and see the areas we didn't explore because there's so many places to go. But there were really two popular, the places we chose were also popular point redemptions with the resorts there. And so that's kind of how we based where we were going off of.
Okay, got it. Tell us how you got there.
Okay, so we flew Southwest using credit card points. We flew into, there's two main airports in Costa Rica, and we flew into Liberia. Yeah, we used points. We have Southwest Companion Pass, so that made it a little cheaper on points to go.
Yeah, that's like almost a necessary. The companion pass is like necessary for big families. It just helps so much. And I'm worried that with their new switching to dedicated seats and not the way they've been doing it before, I'm worried the companion pass is going to go away. Have you
Yeah,
heard anything about that?
I don't
Okay.
think it will. That would be a sad day when the Southwest Companion Pass goes away.
Okay. Let's
Then no
hope
matter,
that.
again, this is more of a just a lucky money saving thing. We actually we went on a Sunday to Sunday over, and that's just the most popular and expensive on points or cash time to travel. But we lucked out because before we had booked different dates that were within two, so my kids were going to miss a little more school. I can't remember the exact dates, but Southwest changed our flight. And with Southwest, anytime they change your flight, you can rebook anytime within 2 weeks, like at no cost. And so when they changed my flight, I was like, I wasn't planning on it, but it was like, I won the lottery. I get to go like during anyway. So I think our flights on cash, which is insane, were like $10,000 for a family of five over that Thanksgiving week. We got, the most peak times of travel and things like that. But we paid less points even because we had paid during different days. You just can hope they change, but I wasn't even like hoping that it was going to change. We were just going to go a little bit, like I think they were going to come home. We were going to come home on Tuesday or Wednesday after Thanksgiving just because it was cheaper, but we didn't have to. So that was great.
Yeah, another Points and Miles episode that we had someone explain that if Southwest ever changes your flight, which happens kind of all the time now with travel, you are free to change to any flight at any time with no cost. And I was like, ooh, that is something to remember. That is a great tip. So you had said that there are two airports in Costa Rica. One is called Liberia. Please tell the story of your husband getting the email that you booked flights to Liberia, because I saw that on your
Oh,
Instagram and that was killing me.
okay, so we're not well traveled until we discovered Points and Miles. We did not have the budget. We would do road trips to visit family and to visit California that's 6 hours away. That's what we did. And there was nothing wrong with that. But once we discovered Points and Miles, just the literal world opened up to us. So anyway, we just don't have a lot of travel experience. He gets this email like you're going to Liberia and he texts me and he's like, Africa? What? And what was so funny though is that he started Googling, like he believed, like he thought we were going to Africa. I'm like, wow, I guess I could book Africa without asking him and he would just go with it. So, it was a good test to see.
That
Anyway,
is so funny. I love that story. I feel like that's something my husband would do, would be like, wait, what? Where are we going? And he's like, oh, Kelsey, goodness, what has gotten into you? Okay. Once you landed, you were off to the coast to the beachy area, the very popular Hyatt, Andaz Peninsula Papagayo Resort. That's like a mouthful. So tell us how you got there from the airport to this first resort.
so we rented a car because we knew we were going to be going to different places. You don't have to rent a car, like you can arrange transportation but we love having a car. We like having the freedom and everything. So we rented a car. We went through Adobe. And the reason we went through Adobe, I think it was a follower had recommended Adobe because they don't have any extra hidden fees attached to it. I guess that's common in Costa Rica. I don't know because we had a good experience with Adobe and there were no hidden fees after. And so it was, yeah, like $500 for a week to rent a car. And we used the Waze app when we were there to navigate, not Google Maps. It was just better for Costa Rica.
Okay,
So
good to know. And were the roads treacherous or rough? I know you had said there'd been a lot of rain the week before you went, so I've heard Costa Rica can be kind of tricky to navigate in terms of the roads. How did you guys feel? Hey, Trip Tales listeners, I'll keep this short. If you're loving the podcast, leaving a review or buying me a coffee is the quickest way to show your support, and it will ensure that these amazing trip stories keep coming. Leave a review wherever you are listening to this podcast, or buy me a coffee at the link in the show notes, and I'll literally do a happy dance when it comes through. Okay, back to the show.
I thought it was fine. I mean, I love that my husband's the one driving, but he's also fine, driving the road to Hana didn't phase him or anything like that. So I didn't think it was that bad. I would say when we were driving to the La Fortuna area, there were a lot more narrow and windy roads. Again, I don't know if it was anything too treacherous. I
That's
thought,
great. I mean, that's good.
I know everybody has their own comfort levels or whatever. So, but yeah, my husband didn't have a problem driving.
Tell us about arriving to the Andaz Papagayo, your initial impressions, the lobby, check-in, how that all felt once you guys finally got there after a long travel day.
Yeah, it was so nice. They greet you with like these cold towels and like a welcome drink. And it's just this open air lobby. I think my kids were like, "Is that an alligator in the tree?" And it was like this huge iguana. It's a really fun resort too, just for creature monkeys and alligators, not alligators, you guys,
Yeah.
iguanas that are as big as alligators.
Yes, it looked amazing. Looked so just kind of like relaxing, luxury, like you had said. I see in your notes that you booked two rooms for your family of five. So, how did this work and were they connecting and how were the rooms?
Yes, we were able to get connecting rooms. Hyatt doesn't guarantee connecting rooms, but we did just message them with the request. But the rooms are lovely luxury. They offer like the drinks are they don't charge you for not
Non-alcoholic. I think it's snacks and non-alcoholic.
also, I don't know. Yeah, snack. But anyway, they had snacks and non-alcoholic drinks in the room that they restocked. And yeah, and they had cute flip-flops and hats for everybody that were complimentary. But I know that is a big bummer for families of five, is
Yeah.
have to book two rooms, and that's either a lot of points or a lot of cash to have to do that. A nice thing about points, another thing you could do if you don't have enough points to book two rooms is book one on cash and one on points just to reduce the cost.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of great Airbnbs in Costa Rica also that's often what makes the most sense for families.
Yeah, the on episode 15, the guy who talked about Hyatt Andaz as well said that he loves Andaz's because they always, all the locations offer those free non-alcoholic drinks and snacks. And he also was a family of, it's like five or six, I can't remember. He either had three or four kids. And he was like, they booked one in New York City. And he's like, for a group of kids, it's just like so nice for them to walk in and be able to like raid the minibar area and then they restock it every day. I'm like, that's a really great tip. The cute little complimentary hats and flip-flops and welcome treat. Do you think that was because you emailed ahead and you're like an influencer, or do you think everybody gets those?
Everybody gets those. I
Okay,
actually
cute.
of my stays, I've only most people don't know I'm an influencer when I go stay on at hotels. They're not hosting me or anything like that. I'm using my own points. And so yeah, no, that's all complimentary for anybody that books.
Nice. Good to know. Okay, so you guys get settled in, and what do you guys do first? Do you go explore the resort, jump in the pool, find some food?
Yeah, I think that night it was pretty late when we got in, and so we just went to dinner and went to bed. It was pretty quick evening.
Okay,
And then
awesome.
one thing to know about the resort is it seems like it's a whole gated community from what I remember, where there's a quite a gated and then there's a few resorts within this gated area. But it's not like you can go walk into town or whatever. So one con I would say with staying at resorts like this is then you are paying resort prices for your food. So some tips, with families is, stop at a grocery store, stock up on snacks or breakfast food or whatever, because you are going to be subject to those crazy high resort prices.
Yeah, you're kind of
For
like
us,
there.
like this is my points and miles math that I'm like, okay, well, if this is free, then we'll have to spend a little more on dinner or whatever. So
Yes. Explain a little bit how the resort is laid out because it's not a traditional just like hotel building with a bunch of with like a high-rise hotel.
no, it's really cool. And The ocean where it's at is, I mean, there's no waves. It's almost, I think it's the bay or gulf or something. I should know more. I should.
No, it's
But
calm. It's a calm
yeah,
water.
it's calm water. It almost looks like a lake. And it's got more like foresty feel. There are a lot of stairs and a lot of levels. You can request golf carts to come pick you up if you want to go anywhere within the resort. And there's pools and there's a couple beaches, but one kind of fun thing is the best beach is they have this private beach, but you actually need to take a shuttle or a boat over to this other private beach.
It seems like the resort is kind of like sprawling and windy, and there's like little paths, and then you might see like an iguana or a sloth, and then there's a pool, and the pool even kind of looks a little windy and not like a traditional, rectangle pool or whatever. It all looks very kind of like it was built into the surroundings and the nature as opposed to just the hotel taking over.
Yeah, it was really cool and unique.
Okay, tell us about some of the food and the restaurant options. Like, I know there's a great breakfast that stands out to a lot of people there.
I should have the names of these restaurants
I've
pulled up.
got one of them. Rio
Okay.
Bongo is like one of the ones that I think you can like get for free if you booked in some certain
Yeah.
way.
If you have globalist status or have a guest of honor, which we had at the time, you just get complimentary breakfast buffet and it's delicious and it saves you so I think it's like the buffets are like $40 a person. So
Yeah.
not that we would definitely not be paying cash for that, but yeah, the breakfast at Rio Bongo was great.
Let's talk a little bit about the kids club because I saw that your daughter hit it up a couple times. I didn't even know there was a kids club because on the other episode it was an adults only like getaway. So, can you drop your kid there? Do you stay with them there? What kinds of things did they have to offer?
Yeah, you can drop. I was actually surprised that she liked it. Not that it wasn't, just that she was willing, the activities were fun enough for her that she was willing to go by herself. I knew if she had a friend, she would love it. But yeah, they have a kids club and you can drop them off for free at certain hours. I can't remember what the hours were. And then they also have an activities list where at certain times they would do different activities. Some were paid, some were complimentary activities. Um, and so I think that first morning we saw that they were doing, I don't know, like little hair wraps and nails. And when she saw that, she was like, I want to do that. And so that was a paid act. I think it was $20, which I didn't think was horrible. But anyway, we went and I stayed with her that time. I didn't have to. And then she did another activity a couple days later where we were packing up to go. It was the morning we left, and I just dropped her off and she was fine being dropped off. The workers were really nice. I wouldn't say it's like some huge kids club or whatever. Like my boys who are 11 and 13 were definitely not interested in going, but
Yeah.
she loved it. Yeah.
But
So
nice that they have the option. My girls would be all about a hair wrap and some nails and just kind of mixing up the day because you kind of said you don't have to, but you're kind of at that resort once you make it all the way there. So nice that they have some other activities. Okay, yes, I want to hear about this private beach that you can take. Did you guys take the shuttle or the boat to, and what was it like?
we took the boat over. It's just like a 3-minute boat ride, but in some ways it was just kind of an experience in and of itself.
Yeah, it's always fun to get out on the water.
Yeah. And so yeah, once we got there, they actually have a pool and a restaurant at that beach also. So you can kind of park it there for quite a while. And they have complimentary towels, sunscreen, bug spray, and then complimentary kayaking, paddleboarding. I'm trying to think if there was anything else.
You
Like
had said snorkeling on
yeah, they might have
Instagram.
yeah, I think they have snorkel gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just a fun area, a nice place to hang out.
Yeah. So it kind of looked like when you're at the Andaz Papagayo, you have to walk down like a bunch of steps to get to the beach that's already there, which is a nice Costa Rica beach. But sometimes the beaches in Costa Rica can be a little bit more like rugged and not, what we're picturing in like sometimes the US with the like massive white sugar sand beaches. So it looked like, would you guys hang out on that beach that was just at the base of Andaz? Or if you were going to do a beach day, do you want to go across to the nicer beach?
No, I think you want to go across the nicer beach. I didn't see most people at the beach that you can just walk to from the resort. It isn't like Hawaii. It's like you said, it's not like those Florida white sand beaches.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like a lake. And this is where I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm taking my kids too many places because they were a little underwhelmed. at the beach. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, this is cool. Like a lot of, not that we didn't, they didn't, it's not that they didn't like it, but
But
I
I
mean,
feel
we
like you go to Costa Rica for the adventure, not for the beach. But we know that as adults, it's hard to get the kids'
totally. And
mind
I
around that.
will say, like for us, we loved the La Fortuna area a lot better than this area. This was a real, if you like resorts and relaxing, and it was a really, really nice resort.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the Costa Rica I think most people think of.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what other excursions did you do in your time in the Papagayo area?
So we, again, this is not a bash on this hotel. It's a me problem. I don't chill out very well. So we had 3 nights here and we were going to do 2 resort days. And by the second day, we're like, okay, let's do something, you know?
Yeah,
So we
you'd had enough of just chilling at the resort
yeah,
after one
yes,
full day there. Yeah.
yes, 1 full day. I'm like, I'm done chilling. What are we gonna do? No, just kidding. So we just on the spot, this was more spontaneous. We did booked a jet ski tour and we booked it right on that beach. It was 2 hours, and for I think the five of us, it was like $650. I did notice most excursions here, like if you would have compared them to like Hawaii prices, it was, I thought everything was a really good value. And we had a guide that kind of took us around the peninsula area, and we stopped at like a blowhole and we did a little hike and just went around the area, and it was so fun. My boys loved it. They were allowed to drive themselves.
That's
And so
exciting for them.
my 11-year-old, I had to be with my 11-year-old and he was driving me. But then my 13-year-old could just drive one by himself. They loved that. Loved that.
That's awesome. And then your husband was with your daughter.
Uh-huh.
And
So
how
my
old was she on the trip?
7. She's
Okay,
7.
so yeah, I've got a 7-year-old daughter as well. I am very impressed with the adventure level of your 7-year-old.
I am too. We weren't sure how this was gonna go, like if we traumatize her or not, but she's okay. So she
I did see when you guys got back to the resort one evening that there was like a cute little movie night going, which I always love when a resort has like a movie night. It looked like it was by the pool, so people were like on floats watching the movie, which is kind of fun that they have that in the evenings if you're just chilling there.
we walked by it on our way from dinner, but it was really cute the way it was set up at the pool, like a movie at the pool.
Do you have any memorable dinners or meals from this resort?
Our favorite restaurant, I think it was called Chow Pascal. I'm
That
probably
sounds right from the other
yeah.
episode.
Anyway, it was real. What I liked about it is they had a map of all of Central America, and then you could choose dishes based on like the country's specialty. So that was really fun. And then their churros there were so good. We loved the churros so much that we even got them to go another night.
Yeah, no, you like had definitely a handful of stories about the churros on your Instagram highlights. I was like, these must be good.
Yes, they were good.
This is kind of off subject, but did your rooms have a plunge pool?
No, no.
Okay, because the guy on episode 15 his did. So I didn't know if they all came with plunge pools or if they had gotten like a nicer suite because they were on a couple's getaway.
Yeah, it might have been an upgrade or you had to pay for it. But yeah, standard
Okay,
do not have plunge pools.
good to know. Okay, did you guys do anything else at this resort that you want to mention or any other kind of activities before you headed off to La Fortuna?
No, I don't think so. I will say that if there had been like a ward availability or something, it would probably make more sense to book if you were wanting to stay in this area to do it on the back end. If you're like, we want to adventure hard, go hard, do all these adventures, and then do a couple just resort days that are like more relaxing, more chill. We did this first. Honestly, it was because of the availability on points. So
Yeah, but that's good
that
advice.
yeah. And honestly, our life was so crazy leading up to it that we're like, oh, I kind of glad we get to like chill first and then and then gear up to go do some more stuff. So
Yeah, you needed a minute to reset. But I do try to plan that way if possible, but I know that availability is always not going to work out that way. But we're going to the Grand Canyon and Antelope Canyon and Horseshoe Bend and all that kind of stuff this summer. And then we're ending in Scottsdale at 2 nights at the Grand Hyatt Scottsdale because it's like, okay, let's adventure and then let's sit by a pool.
yeah. And also the other thing is this is pretty close to the airport, like a 45-minute drive.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, I mean, it depends on when your flights get in or whatever, but to be that close to the airport when you're leaving is kind of nice.
Yeah, good point. Okay, so next you're off to La Fortuna, which is more in the jungle, rainforest, and closer to the famous
Yeah.
Arenal volcano. Tell us about this resort because I'd never heard of it until I stumbled upon you on Instagram, and now I literally couldn't stop watching your videos of these springs. So tell us where you stayed.
It was so amazing. Okay, so we stayed at the Tabacon Resort. It's a property that's now owned by Hilton, so you can book it with Hilton points. And it has the most amazing hot springs. In the area is known for having hot springs. So there are other hotels and resorts that you can book that have hot springs, and you can also pay for day passes to either the Tabacon or other hot springs. So it's not like it's just this one hotel that has it. However, we loved it and it was complimentary. Like that we were there for 4 nights and we could go to the hot springs anytime during our stay, which was so fun. Yeah, it was just really unique to us and gorgeous, gorgeous.
Yeah.
We loved
It's called Tabacon Thermal Resort and Spa.
it.
And there are just these beautiful hot springs everywhere that you could enjoy, which it looked like you guys enjoyed multiple days while you were there. Let's back up 1 second. So I watched your stories about you driving from Papagayo to La Fortuna. And can we talk about driving past the Arenal volcano? You guys drove right past it. It looked like a movie. It looked like you had like a real movie camera. And it's the craziest, clearest video of this beautiful volcano that's like actually smoky steaming from the top, like you would see in a movie. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, the steam is coming from the volcano. We were really lucky during our stay too, or no, even our tour guides were telling us that because we had a clear view of the volcano every day, not the whole day. Sometimes, I mean, it would be cloudy or whatever, but even when we were driving in, it wasn't cloudy and we just had this clear, like breathtaking view of this volcano. So that we just got lucky. We saw it every day and we could see all the details and the crevices of like where lava had been or whatever. My grandpa had actually gone, I think like I don't know when he went, but he said they used to be able to see like, I don't know if it was complete lava or whatever. Anyway, it's not as active as it used to be, but
Well, that's
we
good.
could yeah, we could see steam coming out when everything would clear. So it
I
was
mean,
it
I
was
know that you ended up changing your flight so your kids didn't have to miss school, but like if kids have to miss school so that they can see a real volcano with their own eyes, I mean, there's only so much you can learn about a volcano in a textbook or now on a Chromebook or whatever, but to see it in real life, I feel like that's like going to be a memory they have for a really long time. That's a cool
yes,
and
it was
unique experience.
so cool. And we also lucked out our room. I don't think every room has a volcano view, but
Yeah,
ours,
tell us about your rooms and the views because that was cool too.
yeah. So our room had a view of the volcano too. So there were a few nights we just ordered room service and we're just staring at a volcano. It was just amazing. It was just so cool. We loved it.
So cool. Did you get two rooms here as well?
Yes, we did have to get 2 rooms. And like I said, I know that's not as practical all the time with points or cash. And I do know there are a lot of great Airbnbs also. But yeah, we
Yeah.
had to get rooms.
And I think you said they weren't connecting here. Do you think they even have connecting rooms here?
They do, and to be honest, like the service at this hotel wasn't quite as good.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't her. There was just kind of a mix up that we didn't have the connecting rooms, which is hard. It's always kind of, especially when you think you're going to get a connecting room and you don't. But
Yeah.
we were adjoining, so we were right next to each other. So it wasn't a huge deal, but I feel like that can be a big deal if you have little kids, like
Yeah.
little. Yeah.
Were you guys able to just like sleep your kids in one room and you in the other, or did you guys split up, you and your
So
husband?
I can't remember I think we ended up splitting up. We're almost there, and then you're
Yeah.
like, oh, but what if? Anyway, so anytime,
And like you're in another country.
yes, and maybe if we had left I don't know. We ended up splitting up this time, and
Okay.
so
Got
so
it.
I think like girls in one room and boys in the other. But yeah, during the day, if we're having chill time, we're like, hey, go all kids stay in that room, and we'll be in this room or whatever. So
Yeah. Okay, we kind of already touched on this, but one of the highlights of this resort is the hot springs with a view. If the view is clear, which is insane. So tell us about these super unique hot springs that I read that the Arenal volcano produces all that geothermal heat that heats all these hot springs in the area. Like, what did it look like? Is it natural looking? Is it more of like a man-made looking thing? Like, what is it like to be in them?
Yeah, so it was kind of both, and there were different pools, and some were hotter and some were colder and some were pools. There was some man-madeness to it, but there were also pools where there's dirt or mud on the bottom. So it was
Did
kind
one
of a
have like a waterfall component, kind of?
yes,
Yeah.
there were lots of water. I mean, there were quite a few waterfalls. But I don't know. It's kind of like they build around these natural hot springs, if
Yeah,
that makes sense. So
super
I would
cool.
recommend water shoes because it's not like a pool bottom. I think there were some that had pool bottoms. So, and the higher you got, so you'd kind of go either some were stairs or just the higher you got, the more hotter the pools were.
Were any of them as like hot as a hot tub? Like pretty
Yeah,
hot to get
yeah,
in?
yeah. Plenty were hot, like hot. Most of them were warmer than like a regular pool.
Awesome. I love a hot tub. That sounds so relaxing. Okay. I feel like we're to the point where we can talk about rappelling and this big kid adventure that my jaw was on the floor. So, was this already pre-planned? How did you guys book it? Was it through the resort? Tell us everything.
So I had a friend that goes to Costa Rica quite a bit, and she sent me a big long list of things that they like to do because they go back frequently, and one of them was the rappelling. And so we booked through Pure Trek was the company. They did a great job. You can book group for cheaper, but we booked a private tour because I was actually really nervous about my 7-year-old. I'm like, this is kind of ambitious. You can do it ages 5 plus. Like that's but it's more just can they
Yeah.
mentally do it because the highest rappel is like 170 feet. It was
This is
high.
rappelling down waterfalls. So
Yeah.
it's not just rappelling down the rock side of a mountain. It's leaning off of a very high, cliff or whatever, and rappelling with your little rope while rushing water is coming past
Yes,
you.
yes. And then the first rappel is the highest one. So you're not even like warming up. It's just like, hey, go off that cliff. So with my daughter, I had showed her some pictures and videos to kind of
And
prepare.
what was she like, yeah, I got this? Or was she like, I don't know?
It depended on the day. This sounds horrible. Like maybe she's gonna have to go to therapy for this one day. I don't know. She was pretty proud of herself though, to be honest.
Yeah.
So it was over. I had shown her pictures and she said she wanted to do it. She
Had
never
your boys ever been rappelling before?
My oldest had,
Okay.
and he loves it. And my husband had, I think I went once when I was like really little, and that was it. And then, I mean, not little, but as a kid. And then my other son hadn't done it before. My daughter had to go first. I can't remember like or anyway, but just watching the terror, like I was just like rethinking all of my decisions when I was sending my baby over a cliff and watching her go down. But
Intense.
anyway,
Like I did it in Belize not that long ago. I guess it was probably maybe 10 years ago now, 8 years ago. And we were with like a group. My husband had gone to business school. We were with like a bunch of his, classmates or whatever. So we're all grown adults, like 20s. And it is so intimidating when you have to go over that first ledge and you're also kind of like looking at the people and their ropes and you're just like, is this 100% safe? How much did you like latch the thing? And then you just kind of have to go for it. And it is exhilarating when you're done, but it is quite a rush to get it started.
totally. Yes. And then part of it too is I'm like, I feel like if I went a second time, like I had never done it for such a
Yeah,
long
the feeling.
time
You
that
do
it's
feel pretty secure once you kind
yeah,
of get in,
but
you're
it's just
sitting
like
back. Yeah.
that feeling. And then they had this monkey drop thing where you kind of swing and then they drop you and they like dunk you into this water when you
Oh my
fall.
gosh.
And so, but again, you're swinging around this corner and you literally don't know, even a roller coaster, you kind of know what's going to happen. And I'm like, I don't know what's around that corner. Like, I don't know what a monkey drop is. You know what I mean? So, anyway,
That just
but
made my heart start beating really fast, the monkey drop story.
yeah, the monkey drop. So, just sent my kids anyway. My boys loved it. My daughter, I would not say she loved it. She was really glad when it's over, but I made like a little video compilation of all of her. She watched it probably 100 times. And then we asked it, it's like a roller coaster too. Like, did you like it? Yes. Would you do it again? No.
Yeah, yeah.
So she doesn't want to do it again, but she wanted to tell all of her friends that they needed to do it. So she was pretty proud of herself. So
So after that first long one, the longest rappelling with the waterfall, how many more did you do after that?
so there were 4 rappels total, and then the monkey
Oh, the
drop.
monkey drop was separate. That was its own
Yeah.
little.
And it's
Okay.
kind of like you're just hiking it's not a long hike or
Yeah,
anything, but you'll just like walk between all the different rappels.
got it. Cool. Well, I'm proud of you and your kiddos. That's incredible. Did you do any other kind of excursion-y things while you were in La Fortuna?
Yeah, we actually did quite a bit. We packed it in. So that we also did a jungle night walk, and we booked with La Fortuna Explorers was his name. And it was an hour and a half.
I was going to ask about the nighttime jungle walk. Are you like, and the rappelling and everything, are you driving to all these places with your car, or are these like kind of starting from the resort?
All of them offer to pick you up.
Okay.
It sometimes costs a little more. I don't think it's too much more, like 20 or $30 more to be picked up at the resort.
Okay.
Sometimes we chose to drive because then we could hit a restaurant on the way back or things like that. So any of these things, if you chose not to get a rental car, they could provide transportation to you. So I
Okay.
only we had one person pick us up, but that was
Okay.
our choice. They all had options to be picked up at the hotel. Anyway, so yeah, we met him at the place, and what was really fun about this night walk is he gives you flashlights, and you're just walking through a rainforest. You can hear all the frogs croaking, and you just shine your light on a frog. He'd take my phone and take good pictures
I
of
was going
all.
to ask if those pictures were taken on an iPhone because they look like they're
Yes,
taken on a
all of the
professional.
pictures. I know. Yes, he had like special lenses that he would put on my phone.
Oh,
And
cool. You're like, can I get a link for that?
yeah, I know. It was awesome. I thought that was I'm also a content creator, so it was like really nice. I'm like, "Oh, great. Yeah,
Yeah,
take
the
my
pictures are incredible. There was one of a frog that had so many colors. I was like, what is this photo?
yeah, it was my phone, but not my photography skills that did that." Anyway,
Awesome.
but it was my kids loved it. I mean, I think any kids would love getting flashlights in the dark and going on a frog hunt is basically what it felt like. I mean, we saw snakes and insects and other things, but we saw like toucans sleeping and things like that. But tons of frogs of all varieties, and it was so fun.
That's super cool. I love that.
And then another excursion we booked through Wave Expedition. It was just another recommendation from a friend. And we did a zip line and rafting combo. And I just have to comment, I think the price is insane. It was $665 for a combo for 5 people.
Yeah.
Super affordable, I thought, for what you're getting, like 2 big excursions in one day and lunch.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
so we did the zip line first, and they outsourced the zip line. So I can't remember the name of the company, but it was really cool. I can't remember how many zip lines there were, maybe 5, but the first one you zip line right past the La Fortuna waterfall, like you can see it.
Very cool.
And yeah, the zip line was a huge hit. It was my daughter, I mean, it was cake after rappelling down a waterfall. So she loved that. So zip line was fun. And then we went river rafting. We had a bus take us, I think it was like an hour outside of La Fortuna to like float down the river. And it was a lot more rapidy, way more river rapids than I thought. Like I think I was probably the most nervous. My kids loved it, but I wasn't sure if they thought they were gonna die or fall out or whatever. And it was so funny. My daughter during the rapids, they just made her stay like in the middle. And I was again worried she was going to be terrified. And she was like singing to herself the whole time. Well, I'm just like, I'm going to fall out. I'm going to whatever. Anyway, and I say that, and I don't know if I was actually going to fall out. I was
Yeah.
just personally nervous.
River rafting's like intense. I feel like
It was
whitewater river rafting, it's all very intense.
Yeah, and it was so they had said there was a lot of rain the week before, and it was kind of the end of the rainy season. The beginning part, there kind of were no breaks. You were just going through rapids for a long time, and then towards the end, it was more, floating. Where I'm like, oh yeah, we made it. We're floating.
Finally. Yeah.
Anyway, but another cool thing about that is, he's just pointing out sloths that are hanging in the trees above the river, and I'm like, this is crazy. I mean, anyway, So cool. So
You guys
different.
packed in so much adventure. I love it. And I also kind of love the youngest daughter of three kids who it's just like, I'm sorry, but this is what we're doing now. And you just kind of have to get with the program. Like, I feel like I'm
What she
thinking
really
about,
did. She got with the
walk,
program.
yeah, I'm thinking about walking. Next week, we're going to New York City, taking the kids for the first time. And I'm like thinking about all the walking we're going to be doing. And we've definitely like sold all our strollers and everything. But I'm just picturing my 7-year-old and I'm just going to be like, get with the program. We got to walk to Central Park.
You're a big kid now. We're
Yeah.
doing big kids now.
Yeah.
So our last day, I mean, we really packed in a lot of stuff. So the last day we actually kept totally open to see what our kids wanted to do. And they chose to go see the La Fortuna waterfall. And then we actually booked another tour with that La Fortuna, the same guy, but a sloth tour during the day. So the La Fortuna waterfall, I would say it's kind of a popular thing to do. I mean, it's in La Fortuna or whatever.
Yeah.
It does have a $20 entry fee per person. I thought that was a little steep. And then especially you usually can swim in the waterfall, but the day we went, it was not safe to swim, and I wouldn't have wanted to. I mean, it didn't look safe either. So it was kind of like, okay, that was kind of an expensive hike down to a waterfall. There was nothing wrong with it at all. It was just expensive, I thought. And then our sloth tour was super fun. It was the same thing. What I liked about the animal tours or night tours is we wouldn't have seen all the things if you didn't have somebody pointing it out for you. And so same thing, he had like binoculars that you could like attach a phone to, and so get good pictures of the sloths. We saw bats and like a poison dart frog. So that was really fun. And I feel like the timing, I think it's 90-minute tours, which is like the perfect amount of time where it's like you
Yeah.
see the animals, you get the pictures, and then you're done. So we loved that.
I forgot to ask on the zip lining and river rafting. I think you said lunch was included. Is that like they take you to a local restaurant or do they provide it? How did that work?
They would provide it. I don't know if like the companies had their own, maybe it's their own property, I assume, but with both the Pure Trek and the Wave Expedition, like that combo, um lunch was included with both of those, which is really nice and I mean, we're saving, not
Yeah.
spending, but when it's included in the package, which is kind of nice to
Was it
not.
a good lunch?
I thought it was. I mean, picky American eaters, maybe beware. It's just like rice, beans, chicken, that kind of food. So anyway, it was the funny thing is, I think I have a picture. I didn't say I recapped the trip much later, but we had this slop of food. It was on Thanksgiving, and I mean, it does not look appetizing. And I'm like, here we go. Here's
Happy
our thing.
Thanksgiving.
You got to eat it. At least try it. No, it's just rice and beans and chicken. And
Yeah,
I don't know any pictures could make it look like pretty Instagram food, if that makes
right.
sense.
Totally. Oh, it looked like maybe at one point you went while you were at this resort into town and ate somewhere
Yeah,
in town.
yeah, there were I think 2 or 3 times we went into town to eat. Everything's a lot more affordable. I mean, even I did not like the food at the Tabacon very well, and it was expensive. We did do room service and eat at one of the restaurants just for the convenience of it. But for the price, I'm mentally prepared for resort prices, or we budget that in. But it's always disappointing when you're spending resort, paying resort food prices and the food doesn't taste that great. So I
Yeah,
would not say the Tabacon food was very great. But the nice thing is it's not as isolated, so you can drive into town and go to restaurants and things like that. One restaurant that we really liked, I don't know Spanish, so I'm gonna like butcher this, but it's like Polo Fortunino. Anyway,
probably
it's on,
pollo like chicken, Pollo. Yeah.
oh yeah, wow. Anyway, it was really good and a really good price.
Okay, awesome. You guys are amazing. I think you might be the most adventurous family yet on this podcast, so congratulations. Did traveling home go okay?
Yes, it was really smooth. It just was a really long day. We're in Phoenix. There's no direct flights to Costa Rica, and we were 2.5 hours from the airport, and it's both either airport. So if you're leaving Costa Rica from the La Fortuna area, you're about a 2 hour drive, 2.5 hour drive from the airport. So we had to, drive the 2.5 hours, drop off the rental car, go to the airport, and then we had a layover. So it ended up being I can't remember how many hours from like
Yeah.
hotel to driveway, but it was in some ways I'm like, wow, we could have flown to Europe or something. Like it was a long day for us. But again, we're on West Coast. I know Costa Rica for some people is a pretty quick direct flight.
What were your kids' thoughts on Costa Rica overall?
They loved it. It was really memorable for us because of all the high adventure and stuff. So we would definitely go back. There's other places we want to see in Costa Rica, and I highly recommend it.
Well, Annie, I'm sad that our time revisiting Costa Rica has to come to an end, but let's close this out like I close out every episode. If someone out there is considering a trip to Costa Rica, what is it about the Andaz Papagayo and the Tabacon Resort and all your adventures along the way that would make you say, just book it?
I would say with the Andaz Papagayo, if you can book it with points, it's so fun for a 2 or 3 night stay. Again, this is somebody who has no chill. I wouldn't want to stay longer, but I know some people would love to stay longer than that. But it's just nice to do luxury resorts for $0. So you can follow me and I can teach you how to book that for $0. And then La Fortuna, just that area in general. I mean, we loved the resort we stayed at, but even if you can't stay at that resort or don't want to, there's so many hot springs and fun things to do in that area. Like I cannot recommend La Fortuna enough. It was one of my favorite resort stays and one of my favorite areas I've ever visited. It was so fun.
Awesome. Annie, this has been incredible. Tell everyone where they can find you online so they can learn how to book these hotels for free.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm mostly on Instagram at Let's Travel Talk. And then you can also find me at my website at letstraveltalk.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Annie.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
That wraps up another episode of Trip Tales. If you have a trip you'd like to share about on the podcast, email me at triptalespodcast@gmail.com and I'll add you to the schedule. Also, be sure to follow the show so that you don't miss any upcoming vacation destinations. And if you have an extra minute in your day, please leave a review for the podcast. It helps more than you could imagine. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next episode of Trip Tales.